A leftist open source conference is under attack by open source leftists. That is a real thing that's happening. It's bizarre. It's truly bizarre. So what we're talking about here is the All Things Open conference. The All Things Open conference takes place in North Carolina and every year, and it's become rather big. It's become very big. It has a lot of involvement from Red Hat and a bunch of other corporations. It's very corporate. It has a lot of support. It's got a lot of money flowing into it and has a lot of attendees, right? So it's getting a lot of attention and traction. But it's also a very politically charged event, so much so that even in 2025, when many corporations are going, well, maybe we need to dial back the DEI a little bit, even if it's just for appearances, right? We've seen multiple corporations now talk about how they're ending DEI programs. Whether or not they're actually ending them, but they are making the show that they're dialing them back. And there's good reason for that. I mean, we've seen Red Hat, which sponsors All Things Open, be sued every which way from Sunday for their highly racist, sexist, and discriminatory DEI hiring and firing practices. So it's not surprising that some corporations are pulling back from the DEI, but yet All Things Open, which is very corporate funded, is leaning into the DEI. That's how true believers these are, right? It's not for political expediency that they're doing the DEI stuff. It's because they're the believers. They're very focused on political activism, leftist political activism specifically, and political change. And so they're holding an event at All Things Open. They call it a standalone event dedicated to a vital topic. Specifically, it is inclusion and diversity in open source, I&D. They got rid of the equity. So now it's just inclusion and diversity instead of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They swapped the words around and they got rid of the E. But otherwise, it's the same thing. If you look through the discussions and the panels and all that, it's the exact same thing. It's the same thing as all the DEI woke stuff that's been going on for years now, right? No change whatsoever, other than in the titles, they move a few letters and words around. But they've got a whole dedicated event to it on Sunday, October 12th, sorry. And what's fascinating, though, is even though the All Things Open conference is not just playing lip service to the leftist political agenda, they're full in on it and pushing it hard. There's talk of boycotting the event because it's not leftist enough. So leftist activists and trans activists are pushing for change of venue with All Things Open because they don't like that it's in North Carolina. In North Carolina, they don't like the trans laws in North Carolina, and so they want to move the event. They're talking about boycotting it entirely. So we've got leftist activists boycotting a leftist event, which is crazy. I'm going to read a quick little snippet here just to kind of sum up the whole argument that's currently being had. And you can find these conversations happening on forums, mailing lists, across multiple social media networks. I know it's all over Mastodon and Blue Sky and all those places, from people who are involved with All Things Open, people who involved in GNOME and Debian and Red Hat and Canonical. All sorts of people have been involved talking about it. But we're gonna quote Bradley Kuhn of the Software Freedom Conservancy and Daniel Foray of Elementary OS. Just because I saw them, they had a conversation about it. It summed it up nicely. And, well, we were quoting them just the other day, so why not quote them again? So Bradley Kuhn of the Software Freedom Conservancy says, the specific example that I'm asking about has some nuance. All Things Open runs annually in North Carolina. It gets bigger every year, it really does, and is slowly becoming a key free and open source software event. As a free and open source activist and celebrity, should I refuse to go to pressure the event to move to state or commonwealth more friendly to LGBTQIA+ community? End quote. That's from Bradley Kuhn from the Software Freedom Conservancy, floating the idea like, should I boycott? Should I protest all things open because it's not trans friendly enough? Now, the event is not anti-trans. My guess is if you go to the event and talk about trans-related issues and bathrooms and otherwise, they're going to be pretty friendly towards the trans stuff because they're extremely leftist. Extremely. They have a whole diversity and inclusion event, like not just a one-off, like a whole day of nothing but inclusion, right? So it's a pretty leftist. Well, Dan Foray of the Elementary OS Project, this is what he said. In my opinion, yes, to asking if he should boycott them. Folks should boycott conferences in places where trans folks would not feel safe traveling to, regardless of the fact that some trans folks already live there. End quote. Okay. All right. Okay. So a couple of things with that. If trans people, meaning dudes in dresses and ladies, I guess not in dresses, I don't know. If trans people are living in North Carolina and attending all things open and working for corporations that are sponsoring all things open in North Carolina, what's the danger part? Like, why would people traveling there feel unsafe? Legitimately, I've read through a mountain of forum posts and mailing lists all discussing this topic right now, and they all bring up the same thing. We'll feel unsafe. Trans people would feel unsafe. No one's pointed to, well, because, that one trans person that went to a tech conference in North Carolina, they were arrested and then burned at the stake. That's why we feel unsafe. Well, that's never happened, right? So nothing really bad actually is happening here. So I can't see where an unsafe thing is actually occurring for anyone other than if you're a lady in a ladies' bathroom and you're going to a conference where trans people are, that means that dudes can come into your bathroom. So large men filled with testosterone and man parts can dress up like a lady and sneak into the bathroom and hang out with you while you're going potty. To me, that seems unsafe. That seems unsafe for the ladies. So they're not actually talking about unsafe for trans. That's not really a thing that's happening. It sounds like the only safety issue is perpetrated by the trans folks. That's what it looks like to me. I can't see another actual thing where trans people are unsafe, actually unsafe. Because feelings, I don't care about feelings. I don't care about their feelings. I just don't. I don't care if they feel unsafe. I care if they actually are unsafe. I don't want anyone getting hurt, right? I don't want a dude in a dress who says, I'm a lady, going to North Carolina because of all things open and then being burned at the stake or whatever other I don't know. Why are they going to be guillotined? I don't know. I don't want any of that to happen, right? I don't want anyone to be unsafe. I don't want anyone to be harmed. But it doesn't seem like anyone's actually talking about harming trans people, right? So what we're really at here, it almost seems like a performative measure, right? Some sort of virtue signaling performance to say that all things open is not leftist enough, right? So therefore we boycott them. We, the leftists of open source, are going to boycott the leftists of all things open because the all things open leftists aren't the most leftist. And that's horrible. They're evil. It's very peculiar. It's very, very peculiar that this is happening. Now, this exact same issue is playing out actually with a large number of other tech conferences as well. We've seen multiple open source and tech conferences change venues and talk about changing venues specifically because of trans people feeling safe. Now, I've yet to see one example, just one, where there was a tech conference scheduled that they had to move because trans people actually had a safety concern, like a real safety concern. Like if they went there, they would be burned at the stake. They'd be sent to the guillotines. I haven't seen any of that, or even arrested. Like that's not a thing that I've seen at all. So it kind of seems like all the topic around this is all just kind of made up fluff. It's just a performative measure for the extreme leftists of open source to boycott the people who are extreme leftists, but not enough. Bizarre. So there's divisions happening within open source. The open source activists that are on the left are kind of almost going at odds with the open source activists on the left that have jobs. That really does seem to be the dividing line here, because the open source activists that are leftists that are working at these corporations, they're all going to all things open, with a few exceptions. But it's very interesting to watch happen. I'm going to be interested in seeing how all things open responds. I reached out to one contact I have that does some work at All Things Open, but this individual was not aware of any plans within the conference to move venues, had not heard of any plans. So we'll see if they actually cave to any of these very scary boycotts. We'll see what they decide to do. Of course, I won't be at All Things Open this year because, again, it is a very, very leftist event. And I'm sure if I showed up, there would be the boycotts as well, because there always is at these sorts of events. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for allowing me to look at all of this ridiculousness. There's so much ridiculousness, and I gotta look at all of it. Go to lunduke.com, click on all the links. You can read and listen and watch all the stuff that I put out, all for free. It's wonderful. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys, but if you want to support the work of the Lunduke Journal, I would not hold it against you, my friend. I would not hold it against you at all. It's all up at lunduke.com. Boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.